to present you Jtalk, which is a project I started a year ago. I'll try to make this presentation as interactive as possible, so if you have questions, just raise your hand or ask me directly. This presentation has been written in Jtalk itself, so it's already online. I'll give you the URL at the end of the presentation, so if you want to take a look, play with it, or write your own presentation in Smalltalk, you can do it. Okay, so what is Jtalk? Jtalk is an implementation of Smalltalk, and that's the most important part. It's not just a translator from Smalltalk to JavaScript, it's a real Smalltalk. It runs on top of the JavaScript runtime, which means basically it runs on the client side on your browser. And it's an open source project. It's on GitHub. If you want to clone it, fork it, and play with it, you can. We're taking contributions, so you can send pull requests. And I think Jtalk is a really good project because it can directly reuse every JavaScript library around, and you get all the work that has been done on JavaScript for free. If you like jQuery, you can use jQuery. If you want to write server-side apps, you can write server-side apps using Node.js, for example. And I think nowadays, web applications are more and more moving in the client side, at least for the UI. And whether we like it or not, I think it's a good thing for the user experience. And Jtalk allows you to write your UI in Smalltalk and to play with it and develop your applications on the client side like you would do with a Morphic application. You do everything live, you never leave the browser. Okay, so first, Jtalk is written in itself, which makes it cool. It is a full Smalltalk object system, which means everything you use of classes, meta-classes, every library you may think of should be in Jtalk. It has libraries for collections, strings, regular expressions, numbers, everything you may think of. And of course, it's able to write HTML. So it has an HTML canvas. So if you use C side, you will be at home. The only difference is that the C-side canvas writes into a string, while the Jtalk canvas directly manipulates some elements. It has an IDE, so you don't have to write on text files. You can fire up the IDE and develop your application on your client. And it now includes what I call advanced Smalltalk features. Well, this context and does not understand. Previously it was missing, but now we have it, so it really is a Smalltalk.
Nicolas, you have Become?
No, we don't have Become, and I think we will never have. Yeah, that's because of the underlying JavaScript.
So what was the question?
The question was, do we have Become? And the answer is no. Okay, so this is inside the browser, right? I can, okay, so this is a text area. If you use to Squeak, it's basically the same workspace. So we can give it a try. Let's do, oh, that's a QWERTY keyboard, I have to get used to it. 1 + 1. We get 2. Where? That's expected, but it could have some JavaScript. So let's say object new, new. We get an object. If we want a class, we get object. Then we get the object class, and guess what? This is an instance of meta class. And so on. I mean, it's a Smalltalk. We can. do it first one. And we get what expected. Do you have ideas about what we could do to try it? Let's play with strings, for example. There is no proto object, it's object. Or server. Classes.
You have a spectrum?
Yeah, I'm going to show you that in a moment. Okay, so here are all the. Yeah, it doesn't like it. Yeah, okay. So
Size.
Yeah, size. Sorry?
You can do order correction, assignment.
No. I come to that later. Okay, we have streams, we have collections. Oh, you can. We can play with our page.
It's nice to see some other having problems with his presentation.
Good problem?
It was not just us. Sorry.
Okay, so let's say CSS at background, put red. That would be lovely, right? Okay. What's important here that there is no binding for jQuery. We just use it from Smalltalk. Okay. Okay, so Jtalk has an IDE, which means it has a workspace, a transcript, a class browser, it has senders, implementers, class reference, a debugger, which is a work in progress, but we're getting there that now that we have this context. So, you can just open one here. Yes, it's big enough? Yeah? Okay, so this is a workspace, we have syntax highlighting, so self. It's a do it. Okay. We can print on the transcript. And becoming very interesting if we try to inspect stuff. So here is an inspector. Here we just inspect Smalltalk object, but we could do more. We're inside the browser. We can access DOM elements. We can play with everything you could in JavaScript, except here you're doing everything live. So here's an inspector. Okay, it's a bit boring, but we're inside a page, right? And it's Smalltalk.
Can you inspect Windows?
No. For now, you cannot inspect a JavaScript object that doesn't have a Smalltalk representation. But we could extend object.prototype to allow that. For now, you can't, but you probably will in the future. Okay, so we have a class browser. Let's see, I don't know, object. We can browse senders and inspectors and implementers. So here we have the implementers of new, and here the senders. We can find the class reference of array. Yeah. We have instance side, class side. You can write comments for your class, and all you have to do to save your work is to click on this little button here. It will commit the entire class category you're working on, and then all you have to do is to include the JavaScript file into your page, and you're ready. Okay? Here we're working on the client side, so
It will be committed on the server.
yeah.
So there is one button you shouldn't press, and that's F5 and reload. You don't want to do reload.
Yeah, we don't want to do reload. Yeah, you have to commit first.
The idea is that it's a problem of communication costs. You don't send
No,
every change.
Jtalk is self-contained, so it's just a small talk inside the
No,
page.
yeah, I understood idea.
Yeah.
But why don't you? You need to do this commit. Why you
yeah.
don't send every change? Every
Yeah.
change a method.
Let's say you make a change in behavior, and you realize later that you broke everything. It's committed. It's too late, right?
So this is the equivalent of save.
Yeah. Well, when I play with the compiler, most of the time I break it, and I don't want that to be committed right away. I want to choose when I commit my changes.
No, but the idea is why do you put it is per category?
Yeah, it's per category.
So why it is per category and not for the? We can.
It could be, yeah, it could be. It seems more convenient that way, that's all. But it could be, yeah, the entire small talk, you know. Okay, so this is a counter example, side-line counter. Of course, there is no server-side part here, so it's all in the client. You might already know this example. If I click on plus, it increases the counter, on minus, it decreases the counter. Okay, so we're just going to play a little bit with the counter. Okay, here I'm browsing the counter class. So it has two instance variables, the count and the header. The initialize sets the count instance variable to 0. And we have the render on method, just like in C side. You don't see everything, do you? Yeah. Just like in C side. So the API of the canvas is very similar. So we have here an H1 element. Here we have a button with plus. If you click on it, we'll call the increase method. All right? The difference is here, the H1 element is a DOM element. So you can change its content afterwards. You can do everything you may want with it. So the increase method just changes the content of the H1 element. Okay? So if we change that for, let's say, 10, and just save it, our application changed, died. And that's really what we want when we are doing Smalltalk, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was expecting a separation between model and view.
Yeah, it's just a component. Yeah, it's just a component here. Okay, so Jtalk is a Smalltalk, but it's also JavaScript, right? So the interesting part with Jtalk is its relationship with JavaScript. When you're doing Jtalk, you have to understand that every Smalltalk object is in fact a JavaScript object. It's the same thing. Everything you do from Smalltalk, you can do it from JavaScript, and the opposite is also true. So Jtalk, for reasons of speed and because the nature of JavaScript allows it, so Jtalk marks one-to-one when it's possible for basic classes. So a string in JavaScript or a string in Smalltalk is a string in JavaScript. A number is a number. That's why there is only one number class in Jtalk. It's number because it just uses the number in JavaScript. A function in JavaScript, it's about closure in Smalltalk. A dictionary, it's just an object. And an error is an error with some additions to make it work like we would expect in Smalltalk. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah.
The JavaScript function, they have the same semantic than block
Yeah,
function?
it's a closure. It's a closure.
With return and things like that?
No, there is special stuff for return. Okay, but that's done at compiling time, so it doesn't matter here. But yeah, it's a function. So when you're in a JavaScript environment, you can call your Smalltalk objects and send them messages. Okay? There are simple rules. A unary message will begin with an underscore. A binary message will begin with 2 underscores, and the symbol will be replaced with the English word. And keyword messages follow the same rules, but they are a final underscore. Okay? So here is a JavaScript console. Okay, I can call small dot object. It's my class, small class, and I can call new on it. So I just prefix it with underscore, which is here. And that's my Smalltalk object. If I take this and I print it in the transcript, so it will be Smalltalk dot transcript dot underscore show underscore, all right, and I just should load the ID too. Okay. So here I'm evaluating Smalltalk from JavaScript. It's the same thing. So you're not limited because it's a Smalltalk. Okay, the good news is the opposite is also true. So what you do in Smalltalk, you can do it from JavaScript too. So you never have to write a binding for a library. Everything that is available in JavaScript will be available in Smalltalk for free. So if you run, for example, a Jtalk application on top of Node.js, you have to know that there are more than 3,000, that's right, 3,000 packages available for things you may want, PayPal, object rational mapping, anything. It's already there. We just have to use it. And it's fast because it uses the V8 engine, JavaScript engine, which is really fast. So we have all that for free. Jtalk is just a little magic on top of that. Yeah. I'll show you an example of that. Not here. Can call the console, and instead of writing in JavaScript to the console log, blah blah blah, just going to do console log, my string. And it just works. Right?
Can you get hold of the list of all the JavaScript objects around?
No. No. You can access the global object. Inside the browser, it's window. Node.js, it's another thing that just good to have a global object. You can access all its hierarchy, but all its properties. And that's all. Okay, so if we have time, how much time do we have?
10, 11.
It says 10 minutes? Okay, okay. Just
I have to speed up.
yeah.
Is it okay?
Just have to switch.
Okay, so, oops. Is this okay? Like that, okay. So, Jtalk, I used to look at a lot of different Smalltalks whenever they pop up.
But it was a long time ago that I found a Smalltalk that I actually immediately felt that, oh, this is actually really useful. And the timing of Jtalk is perfect because JavaScript is exploding. Okay, so being a little bit more old-fashioned, I wanted to finally write a Smalltalk program that I could compile and run from the command line, just like any other scripting language like Python or whatever. So, and then I realized that Nicholas hadn't really had any time to build a proper compiler from the command line. There was a small one, but it didn't work for me because Nicholas was using D8, which is V8 running from the command line, right? I couldn't get it to work, so what should I do? Then I installed Node, right? So Node.js is the V8 engine combined with a bunch of cool asynchronous C libraries. So it's basically JavaScript from the command line, but in a asynchronous way, okay? So I took that, installed it, and then I wrote a bash script, which is almost 400 lines long, but kind of silly. But it's more or less just takes care of a bunch of options and juggles things around. But what it does, it uses Node.js to load Jtalk. First the boot, then the kernel, and then all the way up, including the compiler, right? And then, when everything that is loaded into Node, then suddenly it's like 10 lines of code to actually invoke the compiler, which is written in Jtalk, to compile a regular chunk file, .st file, and then save it out as a JavaScript file. Okay? So then we have a simple command line compiler. Then of course I went berserk and started adding lots of other stuff. For example, it can link together a bunch of JavaScript files and add class initialization at the end, optionally call a main method in whichever class you pick. And also I tried the Google Closure compiler, which is an optimizer that can compress JavaScript code and makes it much smaller. Okay. So those are the things that this Jtalk C does. So, trivial example, this is hello.st. I'm not going to explain it. You see the console log, just like Nicholas explained, right? So it's a class-side method called main. Trivial. Then I wrote a little makefile that uses the Jtalk C shell script. But I can use this one. So this N here is, the target is Node. Okay, so we're compiling from Node, so it may do something special for that. And then we say, okay, I want you to run the main method of this class hello, and here is the Smalltalk file I want you to compile, and I would like to produce program.js. Okay. So, and when we have that, then we can do make run, and it will use the very, very simple file called hello, which just starts a node with this JavaScript file as input. Okay, trivial so far. So we can do make run and blah, 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 and then eventually we'll hopefully see this, right? And it's fast. So I'm not going to demonstrate that because it's a very trivial thing, but I wanted to demonstrate something a little bit more interesting. Let's see if you can see this. Oops. Can I increase, zoom in, right? Yeah. Sorry, zoom in once more. Now you can read it, right? Okay. So, if you go to Node.js homepage, there is this really simple, like 20 lines of code web server. Okay. So I wrote that in Smalltalk instead, and this actually doesn't contain a single line of JavaScript. It's all Smalltalk. I'm not going to go through it. You can look at it at your own time. But basically, it creates a little web server here, and it tells it to listen on a specific port. Okay. And we're using Node modules here. We're using the HTTP module from Node and stuff like that. Okay. So let's fire it up. running it in the background, okay? So it told us, I'm fine, I'm running. And then we use Apache benchmark, oops, Apache benchmark and throw 10,000 requests on it using 30 concurrent clients, okay? So this is a fairly fast laptop, but still we get almost 1900 requests per second with Jtalk. And the numbers here are also quite nice. This is nice. If you guys do this. Now, of course, if you try the Node.js example in JavaScript, it will be even faster because Jtalk is still adds quite a bit of overhead at the moment. And we're playing with some speculative inlining, by the way, which we heard stuff about earlier this morning. Okay, so that was neat. But there's more. And how many minutes? 4 minutes. Okay. WebOS, which this tablet is running, and this phone, by the way, is a really cool mobile operating system which is based on Linux. Unfortunately, we don't know what's going to happen with WebOS right now because of what Hewlett-Packard is doing. But the interesting thing with this operating system is that it's most of it is written in JavaScript. Okay, so they decided quite some time ago to just take Linux, throw WebKit on it, and then write as much as they can using JavaScript and running it in VA. Okay, and when they released this tablet in the beginning of July, they did that with a new user interface framework called Enyo, which is all written in JavaScript, and it's actually a really nice object-oriented user interface or framework. Okay? And actually even uses Node.js to run background services. Okay, so can we write Smalltalk apps that run on this tablet? Yes, we can. That was the first silly demo that I did, and I took a screenshot of it. But now I've spent a few hours yesterday and today creating something more interesting. So it's kind of interesting. This application is written in Jtalk, compiled to JavaScript, using the Enyo framework, and that means it also runs in Chrome. So I can demonstrate the application running in the web browser. So this looks almost, like on the phone, right? So I can paste in some code here. The classic 3+4, of course, and then do print it. Okay, clear. And there is another button at the far end which you can't see. Let's see if I can. You see that button? Quack. Okay, so that's a one-liner to actually play a wave file, a web file. Okay, so this application can actually be installed and run on this. So let's see. There it is, which is the name of the application. There it is. Let's start it up. There it is. Perhaps like that. No? Okay. Does it quack? Yes, it does. And I can do more if I have 1 or 2 minutes. I'm not sure.
Sure.
Yeah. So we can start the Palm emulator instead, so that you can, so that I don't have to hold this tablet in front of you. So the emulator for WebOS actually runs in VirtualBox. Okay. So they compile the whole operating system for x86 and then run it in VirtualBox. So this is the tablet running in VirtualBox. I have some memos here with some code snippets that I'm going to try to copy because keyboards and tablets, and it's a bit tricky. So we start up this little silly development environment. And then we switch over to the memos. Let's see if I can do this. And, copy. And then, whoops. It's hard to drive a touch user interface with the mouse. Okay, so this is not going to be that impressive actually, because here we can see that Jtalk isn't that fast. So let's print it there. Okay, 8. If I do it on the tablet, I will probably get 160 something. So this laptop is fast. Okay, so let's go back to something more interesting. I'm going to pick this one. So what I would like to show you is that now that we have a user, we have actually the beginning of a development environment here, although it's extremely small and extremely featureless. We could actually start building WebOS apps live dynamically straight on the tablet. I mean, we're on the tablet right now, right? It just happens to be an emulator. Okay, so let's create some user interface stuff. Paste. Okay, so this code is Jtalk code with a bit of inline JavaScript, and that's just because when you're doing these nested dictionaries of dictionaries and arrays in JavaScript, it's kind of ugly currently doing that in Smalltalk. It sort of blows up with dictionary new, output, yourself, blah, blah, blah. It gets ugly. So we're thinking about adding some sugar syntax there. But basically now what we're doing here, we're creating an Enyo modal dialog, and we're using a block at the top there. So that says pop-up close. See the block up here? And since blocks are functions, and this is very important, we can throw this block as a function into Enyo as a callback, right? So when the button is clicked, on click, we'll do close pop-up, and then we associate close pop-up with this block. So inside the JavaScript here, which is inline between these less than and greater than, we can access the temp variable that is outside. So that's where we're hooking in our block. Then we tell Enyo to create this kind of object, and then we open it, okay? So let's do it. The compiling time, that's the compiling time, it's pretty slow. Opening the dialog is fast, okay? And then we click, there's the callback into Jtalk that closes the pop-up. Okay. I think the next slide is yours.
So I didn't have time to show you the debugger. Maybe if I have just 1 minute, I could show you. Okay, it's a work in progress, but object new wouldn't understand full, so if I just do it, I get what is the beginning debugger. So I can already climb the stack, and in fact this context already has knowledge about variables. We can change it on the fly, we can proceed, we can step through. All it is missing here is the UI. We could also save the code with a fix for that. And do it here. Yeah, where is it? Yeah, okay. Yeah, here. Okay, well, we could fix that, do something that will work, save it, and proceed. So we will have that in a few weeks, maybe. Okay. So here you have the main links for Jtalk. You can try it on the website. There's nothing to download. You can fork it on GitHub. You can go to the mailing list, and if you're too shy for the mailing list, you can still you can send me an email here. We're looking for contributors. If you're interested, even just users, we would really like to have feedback. Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody? Yeah?
How big is it, the whole JavaScript below W page?
It depends. If you load it with the Smalltalk sources, it's maybe 200 kilobytes. Without the Smalltalk sources, it's 60 kilobytes. Maybe less if you don't load the IDE. For end-user application, you definitely don't want the IDE or the Smalltalk source files.
Have you considered integrating this with, for example, Firebug or the equivalent in Chrome or other browsers? Because I think it would be awesome if I could debug Smalltalk objects and imagine that an instance variable points to an element in the document object model, and then I can just inspect them in the web page. It would be just awesome.
Yeah, we will have that, not using Firebug or the WebKit inspector, just because we don't need them. We have Smalltalk inspector, Smalltalk debugger, Smalltalk transcript, and everything. But we will be able to inspect JavaScript objects like domains in the future. Yeah.
And by the way, the other tools, the Chrome tools, for example, are actually quite useful because, I mean, you would find the classes, the objects there too. But then you need to understand a little bit how they're built.
So I have a question. What do we learn from that for us, from the perspective that, for me, not really when I see Jtalk, but what Goran presented, this is that if I'm a programmer right now, why do I bother with Smalltalk? Because it's just going, this is just slow. So the natural step would be just switch to JavaScript. And that's, if I look at the message that you are sending, this is basically that. Of course, you taint it with some Smalltalk code. And the next lesson, this is, did we completely lost the web? And because when I see, for example, the user interface, this means that when I open any Smalltalk that we have right now, it looks like shit, maybe except Etoile. All the other ones, they look bad, let's face it. And do we expect to grab people that really want to do Smalltalk when they can do JavaScript instead?
Yeah, when you write JavaScript, you write your file, you save your file, you go to your browser, you reload the page, you see something's wrong, maybe you use Firebug or something else, but you will go back to the file, you will try to fix it. And, I mean, we have a process for developing that is way better. And JavaScript it's a nice language, it's fully object-oriented, it has prototypes, but it also sucks. So, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's nice, some stuff are nice, and I like it in some ways, but it's kind of a love-hate relationship.
I mean, yeah, the JavaScript community is doing similar things. For example, the Cloud9 IDE, which is fully hosted web IDE, WebOS, Palm, they have this thing called RS, which is also a fully web-based IDE for developing stuff for this. So why should we use Smalltalk? Well, I think, for me, I'm a Smalltalker, so it's pretty obvious. I want to use Smalltalk, right? But there is also the idea that as a Smalltalker, I expect to be able to develop on this machine, not for this machine. Right? So most of these tools, you expect to be sitting on your laptop, do what you do, and then deploy, and then see how it breaks. But with Jtalk, I can actually do it live. So this live thing, having the environment being live all the time, that's, for me, that's the thing that I'm after.
Also, I don't think Jtalk would bring Smalltalkers to the web, but maybe it can bring web developers to Smalltalk. And that may be interesting for us. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.